Hello, Jeff. Yeah, I am here, mate. Alive and well, and waiting to get out and do some more shows for everyone.
You are? You're back, aren't you? Got a brand new album out.
Yeah, there's a new album, RetroGlide. Been 18 months in the making, and although some would say 12 years in the making, because it's the first Level 42 album for that long. And it's me back together with Mike Lindup, and Boone Gould wrote the lyrics for the album, and Gary Husband on drums, and it's a really good album, if I say so myself.
So you just mentioned then 12 years since your last release, but it's a long time since you got together. 1981 was when you first sort of hit the scene with a release, wasn't it?
It was, in fact, a little bit before that, Jeff. We began in the beginning of 1980, and we had a single out called Love Meeting Love that was put out on a independent label, because that was all the rage then, called All Ears Music, and our first producer was called Andy Soiker.
Okay, well, going back to the early 80s, now, I was told this by Lisa, a friend of mine who works here at the radio station, and she said that you guys were like the bling-bling boys of your time. Is this true?
No, it's not, Lisa. You naughty girl, putting things like that around. You know, you can't say that about us.
Because I believe you wore a lot of bling and a lot of expensive gear.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you know, I'm too old now to know what bling means anyway. Even though the word does crop up in one of the songs on RetroGlide, I have to say, I just didn't know what I was singing, did I?
I tell you what, you're a good salesman there, Mark. RetroGlide, you've got it in again.
I did, didn't I? That's a good plug. And I've also got to sneak in Heffalump, Jeff, because I've been told to try and sneak that word in as well. So there we are, two for one.
You've achieved it, haven't you? So the bling bling blues, you're not too sure about that one. But Level 42, why Level 42?
Well, it was the 42 actually came from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. We kind of borrowed it from Douglas Adams' book. But the reason we wanted to use a number as opposed to a name is because this was, like I said, this is 1980, and punk was just about on its uppers. And all the bands, you know, it used to be like the Sex Pistols, the Clash, the Stranglers. It was all sort of quite hard, aggressive things. And we somehow wanted to try and distance ourselves a bit from that, and hopefully come up with a name that only meant something when you actually hear the music, and that we definitely did achieve, I think.
Wasn't it probably until 1984 when things started really, really happening? You started getting quite a good run of top 10 hits. What was it like being a big pop star around about that era? Because it was a good time, music-wise.
It was a fantastic time, you know. I really feel sort of very fortunate to have had my career through the 1980s, Jeff, because you had such a lot of, you know, there were so many different kinds of bands and so many different styles of music actually around and being given airplay, and you know, record companies getting behind and supporting them. Great time. Those days are gone, I'm afraid. But you know, we had the Sun Goes Down that you played a little earlier was actually produced by the guys from Earth, Wind and Fire in the States, and that kind of gave us a bit of a seal of approval, and I think that people started taking us a bit more seriously after that. And then we recorded the next album with Ken Scott, and that gave us a song called Hot Water, and then we really set about seeing if we could come up with some sort of big hit records, and we started writing songs like Something About You and Leaving Me Now, and then went on to Lessons in Love, etc. You know,
that's what I mean. I mean, you guys were quite credible, because there was a lot of naff acts, wasn't there, around the 80s? There's a lot of naff acts now, but there seems to be a particular bunch of freaks sort of circulating around the 80s. That's being kind to them. But you guys, you did have a cool cutting edge sound, especially with the bass lines and stuff. Yeah,
well, it was you know, I was always been, once again, really lucky being in the right place at the right time, because you know, initially I wanted to be a drummer, so the way I play bass is really like drumming on the bass guitar. It's a very percussive way of doing it, and you know, it was, you know, I said the right place at the right time. You know, people seem to want to hear it then, you know, and you know, I'm not sure that if I was to try and start the band now that you'd actually get a look in, but it doesn't matter, does it? Because it's you know, what was. Okay,
so sticking with the 80s, because you're massive around the mid-80s, still big now, what would you say was the big highlight for you of the 1980s? What was the big defining showbiz moment for Level 42?
Well, I suppose really being the house band for the Prince's Trust concerts at Wembley. I mean, that's pretty good, and also too, I mean, just doing a run of shows at Wembley Arena, which we did. I think we ended up playing there. We were doing them like in strings of eight rows, 8 shows at a time, and they were all selling out. I mean, it really was sort of quite something to be stood up there at Wembley Arena. But you didn't just do one night. Then the next night was sold out, the night after that was sold out, the night after that was sold out. Really wild times.
We've mentioned the 80s, the 90s. Only 2 albums released in the 90s, wasn't it, Mark?
Well, there was 3 actually. There was the right at the beginning of 1990, there was the Guaranteed album, and then in '93 we had Forever Now. And then there's been a bit of a gap, really, running up to RetroGlide, which is, as you said, is the latest release. I had a couple of solo albums out in the meantime, but yeah, really, it's been, been a long time coming.
So it was a bit of an up and down start, tail end of the 80s and the 90s, because, of course, it was the sad death, wasn't it, of one of the members of the band?
Yeah, of course. We lost Al Murphy, actually, October the 19th, 1989. It was, a real blow.
But also, just before that, you had your biggest hit, wasn't it, with Running in the Family?
Yeah, I mean, that whole album, actually, the Running in the Family album, seemed to, that was no doubt the most successful period for Level 42, and we just seemed to be we just seemed to be non-stop working. We were like whizzing backwards and forwards across the Atlantic like there was no tomorrow. And I'm once again, I'm glad it was sort of happening back then, because I think with the way that security is on airlines now, it will be an absolute nightmare trying to do it these days.
Okay, well, that was then. This is now. Brand new album out. Is it all going to happen again? Are we going to top Running in the Family with this new album?
Well, to be quite honest, probably not. But that doesn't matter to me.
We'll have a good go, though, won't we, Mark?
And we're going to have a great go, Jeff. It's a fantastic album. And like I said, if I say so myself, and I like it because this is going back to the fact that there are people out there that do make real records, and this is one of them.
Mark, good luck with everything, and we'll speak to you again sometime soon, hopefully.
All the best, Jeff. I hope we get to speak for longer next time, mate.
Okay, no problem. See you later.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.